So this is Tango. I'm doing a video of him. He's going to share his story of his journeys over the last year, particularly around February and March. So I'll talk no more. Tango, tell us all about yourself.
Hey, how you going, people? Beautiful beings out there. Just want to say thank you for watching this. It means a lot to me. Just wanted to start off with who I am. You probably know me as Tango. I used that name just to keep myself safe so that I could apply my skills down in the Parliament occupation. My actual name is Leon. I was born on 8th of the 8th, 1990, 12 o'clock, 8 pound 8. The Lionsgate, the War Star. Grew up in Mangatonoka, up the back behind the Tui Brewery. Yeah, it's, it's a bit of a shock, but yeah. So, had a pretty good upbringing. My old man, he'd done a lot in his life, and it's great. I was grateful he was my father. He built the house we grew up in. I was originally born up in Middlemore in Auckland. We lived up there for 3 months with my grandparents before we moved down to Mangatonoka. My old man passed away when I was about 6, and my old lady had to raise both myself and my brother. My whole life I'd always wanted to protect and serve people and help, focusing on service. So from a young age I really wanted to be in the military. My old man was he was a Lance Corporal, 161 Battery in Korea. Did a lot of very remarkable things. I won't get into that, but yeah, there's a few new paper articles about him and doing some pretty cool stuff. So I got a lot of inspiration from him, and I saw how he'd help people. And so I was always adamant that I was going to be in the military. So I saw that as a good avenue of helping people. Little did I know that wasn't necessarily the case. So I was training from a young age, my mind, to be honed in and disciplined. I used to bike to school every day, 5Ks to school, 5Ks back to Paeatua. Yeah, and it was about when I was 12. Mum decided that I needed a good rep so that I could get into the army easier. So I ended up going to a private boarding school up in Hawke's Bay in Havelock North called Heraworth, which the motto is non nobis solum, which means not for ourselves alone. If there's anything I took from that school, it was that, and a leaver's tie. And then I had a choice. I could either go to Wanganui Collegiate or I could go to Rathkill College. I chose Rathkill because it was in the bush, and that seemed like the ultimate place to train myself really and learn what I needed to. I always knew what I needed to learn. I didn't necessarily require it from others. So I was at Rathkill. It was about 4th form I started running, and I was doing 4Ks a day. And though a lot of the teachers didn't necessarily know me from their classes, because I never took things like economics and geography and that, they knew me because they'd be leaving for the day and they'd see me running and always wave. And yeah. So some of the first things I taught myself was the phonetic alphabet, things like that, so that when I joined the army, it wasn't foreign to me. When I started my recruiting process, I was going down to Wellington, where my cousin worked. He'd been in the army for 15 years, and he'd become a recruiting officer. Now I remember vividly when I went in to choose my role in the military, in the New Zealand Army, and I remember sitting in this room with him, and he was smiling away, and he pulls out these free pamphlets, and one of them was combat careers, the other one was support careers, and the other one was apprenticeships. And he said, well, I've got these 3 options here you can choose from. And he grabbed the combat book and he goes, well, actually there's only 2 options. He grabs a combat careers book and he throws it across the room and he says, there's only 2 options here, you can't have any of those. And I remember asking him, well, why is that? And he said, well, because when you get out, if you want to get out, you're going to be damaged, you're going to have sore knees, you're going to be broken, and you're going to have no qualifications. And that really stunned me because I never really wanted to leave. I wanted to be a lifer, what we call a lifer, and I just wanted to be a well-honed infantryman, and just helping where I could, really. And yeah, so that's what I really wanted to do. And so that was kind of the beginning of where I started to verge off from what I wanted to truly do. I started just questioning. I was like, oh, okay. So eventually I chose a trade and I chose to be a carpenter. I became one of 6 in the country out in Civvy Street that got in, so they only choose a few every year. It's a handful. And so I was one of 6 from Civvy Street, and then there was another 8 that were chosen from within the military who were what we call trade changing. So if you're in infantry for X amount of time and you're a corporal or whatever, or there's one that was a sergeant and he was a gunner. Basically you can trade change so that you can get a trade. So yeah, so anyway, I got in the army and I remember it was 26th of January, I believe it was 2008, when I got on the bus with my my ironing board and bags. We all had our ironing boards in our bags. I got on the bus and we got to basic training. We got to Wairua, and I remember getting there and everyone was very chatty and talking, and I'm sitting there and I knew what was coming. And we get to the gate where the security guard is, and the sergeant gets on. I won't name his name, but sergeant gets on and he goes, we get past the gate and he goes, all right, you all shut the fuck up. So in 3 days I'm gonna own your ass. And everyone just shut up, and I'm sitting there. I was already quiet. I was smiling my head off because I knew what was about to take place. It was hilarious. But for some reason, like, everyone else on the bus was just kind of bewildered and didn't quite grasp what was taking place. And I was like, to myself, I was just thinking, wow, were you not prepared for this? What did you think it was? A bloody holiday camp. So yeah, did basic training. It was good and I loved it. I got expert and I got expert on all my on my C9, my light machine gun. I got expert on my rifle, which was a Steyr, the IW Steyr at the time, the AUG. High proficiency on flares and the like, and nade throwing, grenades. I remember one incident in basic training where I nearly got killed. I doubt this is recorded, but basically my battle buddy was away. He was at the MTC, the Medical Treatment Centre, and we were out doing a live fire pairs manoeuvre, and I got partnered with this guy who was a bit of a ditz. No one really wanted to go with him because they knew he was dangerous. He wasn't. It was pretty bad. He couldn't even tie a thumb knot on a trip flare without pulling the pin. And so anyway, the corporal, I won't name names, but he is I have a lot of love for this corporal. He goes, oh, Lewis, where's your battle buddy? I just oh, he's at the MTC, corporal. He goes, oh, you can go with this guy. My name is sorry. And so oh, corporal, I don't feel safe going with so and so. And he looks at me and goes, smiles. He's always smiling with that devious grin. And he goes, Lewis, you're gonna go with him? So yes, corporal. We get to this firing, we get up to the front, and I'm kind of like, oh shit, here we go. We do this Piers manoeuvre, we get halfway up anyway. Long story short, the Piers manoeuvre, you're only meant to fire when your partner's, you're meant to fire directly at the target, you're not meant to fire across yourself. Anyway, this numpty decides to fire across me, and basically for 5.56 NATO round, he hits a rock, ricochets and flies over my head about, I don't know, 2 foot high. I hear it whiz past, and the corporal calls the stop drill. We all have to put the safety on our rifles and place it down and stand up. Anyway, he goes over to this guy and he shakes the shit out of him and just says, "You nearly killed Lewis. Get up that fucking hill." Anyway, this guy's, oh, but Corporal, the hill's on the other side of a river. And he goes, I don't give a fuck, get up that hill. Well, at the end of that training, this corporal comes up to me and he just says, I just want to have a quick word if you please. And he comes up and it's, just wanted to say, my mistake, your fault. And I felt like I'd won, because you don't really win on basic training. You're always got one step behind. So I felt like I'd got a half win. So yeah, I finished basic training anyway. Did our march out. That was All Arms Recruit Course 346. One of the last 3-month ones at the time. And so finished basic training. Super stoked with myself. End up in Linton. Do my core training, basic combat engineers, the School of Military Engineering, and that was great, because even though I knew I was going to be a builder, I felt like I'd finally found something that I actually enjoyed, because I wasn't really looking forward to being a chippy. Wasn't really interested in trades, to be honest, nor am I now. So get there, do my basic combat engineers, and I'm like, man, combat engineering's mean, field engineering's mean. Move on from there, and we do this course. I've just brought back this course where basically the Army is doing an internal carpentry course where you learn everything from them before you do your apprenticeship with BCITO. And that was alright, but that was about the time when I started getting into a bit of trouble. And what I mean by that is I started seeing through a lot of things, and at the time there was a recession, so we did a lot less. So a lot of our apprenticeship was actually done. Well, it wasn't done, that's the point, is what I'm trying to say. Is so I'd already had my concrete and that signed off, because I worked at a concrete factory doing prefab cast panels, so I'd already had that all signed off. But basically what they did was, to hold you back, they'd have you do all these things that wouldn't get things signed off. So I was basically just pouring concrete pads around the base so they could put containers on them and shit, and I wasn't really filling off my other modules. So I had a lot of time to myself. You know, you have an hour and a half for lunch, and sometimes you knock off at 2 and you just got the whole day. And you know, regardless of popular belief, the Army's rampant with alcoholism. I become quite a drinker, we all were. You get paid on the Thursday, you wouldn't stop drinking till the bloody Sunday night, and then most of the time you wouldn't have any money, and that was the case for a lot of us. So I started wondering what the hell this was all about, because I didn't feel like I was appreciated at all for the effort that I put in up to this point. And my best foot forward was always generally ridiculed. There's a lot of I wouldn't say bullying, but there's a lot of negative rhetoric in the military, and you either have to get on with the selected cool kids, or you don't. And I wasn't interested in people pleasing or anything, so I just kind of ran my own path. But basically I got into a lot of study and things, and I read the LOAC, the Law of Armed Conflict, and a lot of it just didn't quite sit with me, especially with the United Nations in regards to that. It was around about the time, it was about 2000, it was the end of 2009 when I had a bit of an awakening. I was spending a lot of time in my room reading and just studying, because at this time, you know, I was only 19, 20, and at school, at college, I hadn't done a lot of what do you call it, theoretical classes, the trivium stuff. So I was learning a lot about economics and science and stuff like that, maths, and because my brain was developing, it's all suddenly just made sense to me. And I remember looking at things like I used to get books from the library, and I remember looking at this book on economics, and it was talking about the stock markets and this fictitious line that basically decides how your life's going to be for the populace. And I just thought, well, that doesn't make sense. And reading about how debt worked within countries, and I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense to the extent that it's a manipulated system and that we're all being duped, but yeah. So I instantly started recognizing these things, and then it come to my forefront that the majority of militaries around the world are signed with the United Nations, or what I like to call the United Abominations, and you're basically a merc, you're basically a mercenary outfit. All the different nationalised armies are more or less mercenaries for the United Nations in their will. So New Zealand, I see it as like it's what I would call a national army of peacekeeping mercenaries, because they like to use the New Zealand army as a poster child, really. Oh, look how we're helping people and all of that. And I guess in a lot of ways that was how I thought I was going to help people, you know. And because when I chose to be a builder, when I was choosing my trades, I had to envision myself doing something to help people. So when I saw myself as a builder, I always envisioned, you know, being on the roof of a building, building a house for someone, and say in a war-torn country. In this example, at the time was Afghanistan, and I just remember envisioning myself, and I'd be on this roof and I'd be building this house, and I'd feel satisfaction in the fact that I was giving someone a house that they didn't have before, that might have been destroyed. And so that was kind of my goal, was to help people in that regard with what I had to do, which was to be a chippy. So I remember I had a bit of an awakening in my room. The whole room just kind of lit up green, and I wasn't really expecting this. I just remember sitting there just wondering, like, what the hell am I going to do? I don't really like being here. Do I trade change? What do I do? And it's going to be a bit more difficult being a tradie. There's a few more things on you that you have to account for, because they don't take in as many and they require you to be a chippy. So it was one of the hardest decisions of my life, handing in my papers, my 717. But I believe I ended up handing in a medical certificate, because it was pretty much the only way I could leave. So I had to go through a whole heap of rigmarole for that. I remember going to a psychologist and all of this. You have to do that if you want to get out. And basically I remember him just tarring me. Basically he just lied about me. He goes, oh, he's going to run off and become a Rastafarian and all of this shit. I just remember thinking, man, that's bullshit. I never said that. Things like that, eh? And so, yeah. And I got quite harassed by the MPs on my way out when I left the military. I remember burning incense in my room, and they thought I was fucking on drugs or something. And I got thrown in the cells, and they were searching my room every other week. Yeah. It was amusing, but it was a bit traumatizing at the same time. Not soft, but you know, constantly just ripping your shit apart just kind of gets to you after a while, no matter how tough you are in the mind. And so, yeah, it was one of the hardest decisions of my life to hand in those papers, because I didn't know where I was going to go from there. I had this feeling that I could use music as a medium to enlighten people. But I remember when this green light came in my room, and it was just like, oh, it's time to go. There's bigger things to achieve now. You've done what you needed to do here. It's time to move on. So I remember when I got out and travelled around the country for a while, trying to find myself, where I was going. And long story short, blah blah, I ended up living with a master carver. He's mainly a Celtic master carver, but he did a lot of Maori stuff as well. And I remember living with him and meeting a light worker that he knew well, and they taught me a lot. And so from that point on, I realised that I could work with energy and things. So I got into all of that. But somewhere along the way, you know, I did lose sight of that, unfortunately. I guess you could say my body betrayed me, my mind took over, and I forgot who I was in the heart. So I remember I got my baking and pastry certificate. I can't remember when that was, about 2011. And my first job, I opened up a Donut King in the airport, Wellington. But there was something in me that I said, you know, I'm gonna correct what I've seen. I'm gonna correct this. This tyranny can't continue. And so for the next 13 years, I was in and out of jobs, doing different things and learning different skills at different jobs. But in my own time, I was teaching myself all kinds of stuff, military stuff, energy stuff, just so much knowledge and wisdom out there. All kinds of stuff, esoteric, exoteric. It didn't matter to me. Just wisdom is all. Knowledge is power, and wisdom is all. So if you want to go amongst men and help them, you to be known as anything, you should be known for knowledge and gentleness. So that was the goal.